Hello everyone, welcome back to Timberborn. This is episode 14 on the road to 1000 beavers. The sun is setting on day 16 of cycle 19, and this is the first video that I've made in a few weeks. I am still getting settled after my recent move, but I'm going to be getting into making some more videos here coming up shortly. And I wanted to get this one out to you guys as soon as possible. And with that, let's get straight into it. We are getting ready for a drought coming up soon. In the last episode, we did work on getting this tunnel constructed over here. We just extended the path, so now the beavers can reach all the way over here and will continue to do so. But by the end of this episode, they should have constructed all of this over here, and then we can work on expanding it even more to get some water wheels in here. And based on what I'm seeing over here, we have these double platforms on top of a single dirt block, and then we have the overhangs. So I'm assuming that we need to have at least a 4 height for the water wheels to fit in there. Although maybe it's a little bit different if we have overhangs with blocks instead of the metal overhangs. But we can go ahead and test it out by placing down some dynamite over here. And then we can go ahead and prioritize it to see if we actually need to end up removing another dirt block. One thing I did start in the last episode is getting some stairs down here. That way we can go ahead and tunnel under this way. And then we can get some more water over here to irrigate the land. And then we can finally get some more trees planted over here as well. And we're going to utilize the layers feature in order to reach all the way over here. And then we'll keep tunneling in this direction. And then it looks like we actually have the place for another water storage tank to be constructed, but we never ended up placing that down, so we'll go ahead and place a large tank here and then make sure we have it set to water. Something else that we did work on in the last episode was getting this third district constructed, and it looks like they're doing pretty well. They have a decent amount of water stored up, plus they are connected to the outside world through the district crossing, and thankfully it is a drought that is occurring and is not a bad tide. Since we are in the process of constructing some dirt blocks over here, and then we're going to have the badwater diversion system up and running, we will need to remove the dirt over here. That way the badwater has somewhere to spill out to. And it looks like they do have access to dynamite over here, so we might as well go ahead and start placing down some dynamite. And you can see immediately the trees are already starting to dry up, since the irrigation has basically stopped immediately. At some point we'll want to figure out some permanent irrigation solutions. Maybe have some sort of underground tunnels that allow the irrigation to fill up periodically, and that way it can last for the duration of a drought or bad tide. And I know we were discussing power in this district recently, and some sort of combination of wind power and also the gravity batteries, plus getting the water wheels will probably be the solution. I think if we want to get some water wheels down here, that could be pretty effective, since there is a lot of bad water that goes over through here. And then it's probably also worth damming up this area here and then placing a dam on this side, while also allowing the excess water to flow through here as well. And so we can start by placing some levees down right here, and then also removing some berries so they can actually have access to the levees. And it looks like they actually don't have access to extract, so let's go ahead and quickly place down a small tank. That way they can actually store some and construct the dynamite over here. And we're also going to make a large pile in order to store some extra dirt, since I think right now this single small pile of dirt is not quite cutting it. By the time they use it all up, it takes a while for the signals to be sent back to the other district that they need to export some dirt over into this district. And then back in the district of Beavaria, we have been constructing some more dynamite over here. And now we should have access so we can place down the rest of the dynamite, specifically the pieces that are underneath these gravity batteries that are not accessible from above. And then in terms of food in this district, it looks like we're doing pretty darn well. We're a little bit short on grilled spatterdock, although we have plenty of spatterdock placed over here. So it's really just a matter of time before the spatterdock grows up and then we can harvest it. In terms of the land crops, it looks like we're doing really good on carrots, 2.2 thousand, 1.5 thousand potatoes, and then 780 bread. We actually don't have any wheat storage, even though we have a lot of wheat over here. And it does look like I recently expanded the underground storage system. So now all we have to do is actually remove these platforms, and then we can go ahead and add in some more of these large warehouses. And then we can go ahead and continue expanding over in this direction. And it looks like we have a fair amount of builders at the moment, so let's go ahead and start utilizing them. I do want to actually dam up back here, and then create a sort of backup water reserve, which should help expand the irrigation system over into this area. Although down the road I may not utilize it, but we can go ahead and dam this up while we have the opportunity. And so now we have an expanded network of the zip lines, and that should help them construct some of these dams over here. We're also attacking it from this angle as well, and it's basically giving these beavers something to do. And there's still another 4 days until the drought is over, so we are not in a huge rush to get this constructed. And so really we can go ahead and deprioritize all of this. Looks like they did finish constructing all the dynamite over here, so we can go ahead and detonate it. And we still have not reached the bottom of the map, so we can continue expanding it over here. Although we will need to build some staircases down. And then checking back in on the tunnel over here, let's go ahead and detonate all this dynamite. And it does look like we can actually construct this with only 3 levels of blocks deep. Since we don't have any metal overhangs over top, I'm guessing that is the reason why it can fit. So that is good news. We don't need to go up 1 more level or down 1 below here. Instead, we can go ahead and lower all of the dirt blocks over here. And so we can go ahead and get that started. And it does look like they made it all the way to the back, so we can go ahead and remove all of the platforms as well. And then we can also go ahead and start placing some platforms going all the way back, since I will want to have the power shafts go underneath here, but still allow the beavers to walk on top and basically have access to construct the water wheels. And so we'll go ahead and start constructing the platforms and the water wheels as well. And then in the meantime, we can go ahead and collect all the planks that they left behind. And it looks like we are running a little bit low on power. We have just over 3,000 HP for some of these gravity batteries out of 18, yet we still have 2 days left, so I don't really think we'll make it through the entire drought, but we can always go ahead and pause some of these buildings since it looks like they are not actually operating at the moment. And as you can see, we have so many bots sitting around, but actually in the background you can see that we have officially dried up this area, so we don't have any water to irrigate any of these crops or any of the trees. And so one thing we could look at doing is getting some sort of vertical water storage system set up. And then we could utilize the feature that we have over here with the sluice and have it close above a certain downstream depth. And then we could also utilize the water current that comes through here to power one of the mechanical fluid pumps and then pump some water up into a storage system. So it would be something similar to this in terms of the storage. And we officially ran out of power. 0.2 days left, so the water and badwater should be returning very quickly, and then we can go ahead and get our production line up and running once more. And so it's going to be very important that we go ahead and get all of these power wheels up and running soon. And the badwater is slowly returning from a few different spots, so it's going to have to make its way all the way around the helix in order to make it to the production line over in Beaverland Hills. Ooh, we do have some unemployed beavers, and so we can go ahead and bump up the amount of beavers that we have in the district crossing, and then we have the same over in the other district crossing, so we'll bump that up as well. And as you can see, the water levels have dropped quite a bit. These large water pumps almost can't reach the water, but thankfully the drought is over and the wet season has begun, and it looks like there is some water that is starting to flow through here, so that should start filling up our reservoir once again. And taking a look at these last 2 levees over here, we cannot get the required materials, and we are almost out of logs. We only have about 300. We have drastically expanded our tree farm, and let's make sure we have it all marked to be chopped down, although we only have 1 lumberjack flag over here. So let's go ahead and get a few more lumberjack flags constructed, and then this should help solve some of the wood shortage. Although we are a little bit short on beavers in this district, so we can switch some of these jobs to bots, since we have a few of them who are needing to do some work. In fact, we can go ahead and switch all of them. So now we have a good balance, no unemployed bots. And you can see the water is flowing back through here, which means it's going to start filling up the mini reservoir we have in the Beaverland Hills district. In fact, they're getting actually pretty close to running out of water. You can see the badwater has been hanging out over here. But it looks like Gamiro has been doing his best to get the badwater out of the system. And the badwater is flowing through here as well. So now we have some power back into this production line once again. And we're also charging up the gravity batteries. We can go ahead and continue to place down some water wheels over here. It looks like our water system is starting to fill up once again. We have one of these sluices open, so it is filling the reservoir, but it's also allowing some of the water to come back through here and rejuvenate some of the crops. And it does look like we finally made it to the bottom of the map. It was only 1 block lower than this one right here. And so now we can slowly start making our way back up the staircases. Although actually they should be able to reach all of this, so we can go ahead and do it all at once. So we did finish constructing the levees over here probably quite a while ago. But we can go ahead and dam up this area as well. And we are just completely out of wood in this district. We do have a fair amount of trees, but it's not quite enough. So maybe we should go ahead and look at some vertical farming. Although before we do that, let's go ahead and make sure we utilize all of the existing ground that we have. And so I'll want to lower all of this, and then we can allow this forester to plant trees all the way over here. And this does seem like a job that should be switched to bots, because we want to make this guy work as much as we can. We don't really want to have any time wasted for the tree plantings. And as you can see, it looks like the water storage system is working perfectly. We have both of these floodgates set to 0.65. In fact, I realized that I actually could have made it 1 taller, but since we don't have any wood at the moment, we don't really need to go ahead and expand this yet. So it's interesting to see how cyclical the water coming through here has been, because we filled all of this up, but now we don't have any water flowing through these floodgates. And to be honest, I don't really know why that would be the case. If you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments down below. And the tunnel is coming along just fine. We have a bunch of water wheels that have been set up, and then we're in the process of placing down some more, and then also placing down the last pieces of dynamite in order to place the final water wheels down. The next step will be to divert the bad water, so we're getting some platforms set up over here. And then once we have a clear path going through the tunnel, then we can go ahead and start placing down some dirt blocks and blocking off the bad water. And it looks like we do have some unemployed beavers in this district, so let's go ahead and turn on this last builder's hut. And then in terms of our beaver population, we're at 322 occupied beds, which means 322 beavers. But we do want to go ahead and start bumping those numbers up. I think we're going to go ahead and focus on the third district. And this district has not been named yet. Go ahead and leave a comment down below what you think we should name this district. And in the meantime, we can go ahead and place down another house. So it looks like we are at the extent of what I have marked to be removed in terms of trees. Although they should be able to reach this. Oh, but I need to add some staircases. So let's go ahead and do that real quick and then make sure we high prioritize these. And then we can go ahead and mark all these birch trees as well. And so at this point, it looks like we have everything we need for the bad water diversion system. We just need to go ahead and remove these last pieces of dirt. And we stranded a beaver. Let's go ahead and get some more staircases built. And we can detonate these last pieces of dynamite and get these last few water wheels constructed. And so now theoretically the bad water should be able to make its way all the way through here. I guess the last step would be to remove this and then place some platforms here instead. And so now we can go ahead and start placing down some of the dirt blocks. And so now we can go ahead and expand all these trees over here to be chopped down. Only thing is we'll want to go ahead and add a forester. That way we can go ahead and replant some of the trees that have been lost. And now we can go ahead and add in the power shafts, since I have diverted the beavers up top and now they're on top of the platforms. And then the next step will be to figure out how I want to get the power over to the gravity batteries. And it looks like the gravity batteries have not been charging up that much, which means that we are running probably pretty close to max capacity for how much power versus how many production facilities we have. Like this guy is not doing anything, so we can go ahead and pause that. And then it looks like we're doing pretty good on gears, so we can go ahead and pause one of these gear workshops. In fact, we can go ahead and pause 2 of them. And then maybe other than the explosives, pretty much every building is needed, so we'll go ahead and leave them all on. In fact, we can actually remove this one and then go ahead and unpause this one once again. Now it does look like this guy is not able to put enough water into the system, because you can see it's actually getting pretty dang low. So let's go ahead and prioritize this building by haulers, and we might end up needing to get a second one put into this area. But for now we can go ahead and stick to just prioritizing it by haulers. We'll check back in down the road, and if it has not improved, we can go ahead and add a second fluid dump. Although one thing we can do in order to get some more water into this system is we can go ahead and utilize the sluice. Since you can see the water levels here are significantly higher than over here, what we can do is put a sluice in and then allow it to drain into here. If the water level is below a certain height, we'll probably set that to about 0.5. And so we can go ahead and detonate this and then place the sluice down, and we'll actually be able to set this exactly to 0.5 like it is. And then we can place some dynamite down to get a small channel over here. And so now let's go ahead and detonate this and watch the magic begin. You can see the water is being channelized and going through into here. And then this guy in the fluid dump is getting water brought to him. So between those two things, we should be totally fine over here. And then it looks like the dam is set up perfectly over here. So now we have a lot more water reserves. And that is where we're going to wrap up today's episode. We have a few things that we started. We do have the foundation for the water storage facility over here. We have the sluice down below here, and that's going to be able to allow the water to flow out of here back into this system when the water levels drop below a certain height. But we'll need to continue expanding the levees around here, and then also get the mechanical fluid pump set up and then attach that to a power system. I'm going to want to have that independent to the power systems we have elsewhere, because I don't want it to be working around the clock. I'll only want it running when there is water flowing through here. In fact, we might place it upstream around here. Maybe we'll lower these mountains over here and then make just a larger system. But we can go ahead and focus on that in the next episode. We have also made fantastic progress on the tunnel. You can see the water wheels are almost completely placed down. There's just a few more to go, and then we'll start to place down some of the dirt blocks and the platforms over here. And then we'll be able to see some bad water flowing through here. It's going to be generating a lot of power, which will be very much needed. And then we'll be able to connect that system with the gravity batteries over here. There are a lot of power shafts that I have placed down. And lastly, we also have the extra dam that is set up over here. So we have a little bit of extra water which could be utilized, but I think for now the main benefit will be irrigation over here, since the irrigation that we have upstream, this doesn't quite reach all the way over here, and so that should just really help with getting some additional wood. During the course of my move, we hit 1,800 subscribers, which is fantastic. The channel has seen a lot of growth in the last few months, and so to all the new viewers, welcome, and thank you to everyone else who has been here for as long as they have. We're coming up on the big 2,000 mark, which I did not expect to reach that this quickly. And so in the upcoming weeks, I'm going to be focusing on the Road to 1,000 Beavers, but I will also bring back the One Pod Challenge and conclude that series. And then we'll go ahead and start a new one. I'm not quite sure what that is yet, but I do have a few ideas in the back of my mind. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. You guys have been showing the channel great support, and I'm very grateful for that. And with that, we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.